Welcome to the Arizona Cowboy Poets Gathering podcast. We try to do these one a month or so, and we hope when we get them produced, you subscribe and receive them and watch them, and most of all, you enjoy them. I'm Jim Buchanan, your host, and I've been the performer committee chair for the gathering for a number of years now and served on the gathering committee for 35 of our 37 years now. And we're planning our 2026 gathering on August 6th, 7th, and 8th, 2026. So get ready to get your tickets. They'll go on sale June 2nd at the Yavapai College box office, ycpac.com, or you can go through our website, azcowboypoets.org. I want to thank Fane Signature Group, Talking Glass Media, Guy Rodgensen, Director, Cast 11, Tony Tedford, who's here with us, multimedia producer, and all the staff. They've been extremely nice to work with and professional in every way, and we highly recommend them. Today I have one of our favorite poets at the gathering. Sometimes she tells a story, and she's also an accomplished author of 6 books.
Six books, yes.
Amy M. Hale. Nice to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Jim.
You were born and raised in Texas?
I was. And I raised my children in cow camps all over Texas.
All over Texas. You say cow camps, and those are different from being where I live, which is kind of in the rural part of Prescott. Cow camps a whole lot different. Right. I've been out there. I know what
quite a bit more remote. About. Yes.
and you and Gail Steiger are on the Spider Ranch.
We are. Yes.
Which is northwest of Prescott.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about cow camps, because I think they inspire a lot of your writing.
Well, yeah. Cowboy and For the Spider has changed the way that I write, because the writing, being horseback, being in camp, being in the natural world, in fact, being extremely intimate with the natural world, definitely informs the writing. Mm-hmm. And so the Spider is a commercial cattle operation that leases 50,000 acres of your public land. And it's definitely that writing and working on public land, multi-use land, has definitely changed my worldview and changed the way that I look at growing food.
And I know that you and Gail in particular, and all of the cowboys that I've had the pleasure of being friends with have shared that, but I know that you and Gail have a very high respect for the public land and all land, right. Really, but particularly I think public land, because you understand that you're a guest, shall I say?
We are guests.
Even though you pay to be a guest.
We are guests, yes. Not only that, when we get on stage and we talk about to all of the audiences about get outside, get your hands dirty, find out where your food comes from. Then when we encounter the public on the land, even though they might be in our way while we're trying to do our job or whatever, then it would be completely hypocritical of us to say, what are you doing here? Because we've invited the public to make sure that they understand. When we talk about public lands also, and the selling off of the public lands in the West for mining or for development, what people fail to understand sometimes is then we're also taking it out of food production.
Yes.
And growing food.
Yes.
And growing food, especially on public land, is something that I believe in and I take pride in.
And creating the oxygen that we breathe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We need this. We need these lands, these public lands.
I know I've read enough of what you've written I haven't read all your books, I'll confess.
That's okay. There's a lot of them right now.
But I also have the pleasure of reading your posts on Facebook and that. And you're, Amy, to me, you're one of the most connected people with nature that I know.
Thank you.
And I admire that, to be honest, because sometimes I look at a bug or look at something growing on the ground, grass or a weed or a flower or whatever, and I go, I don't know about that like Amy knows about that.
Well, partly it's just this insatiable curiosity I seem to have been born with. But the other reason is because I get out there and I spend quite a bit of time solo in the wilderness. Well, is it solo if I take my little dog with me? I'm not sure. But I can't leave her behind. But I think that absolute willingness to go out there and to sleep on the ground and to drink the wild water and to be out there and not see myself as apart from, but a part of, is part of that built a knowledge base without a lot of work.
You mentioned drinking wild water.
Yes.
That's a title of a book.
That's the title of a brand new book.
All right.
Yeah. And
tell us about that book.
This is my newest book. I am primarily an essayist, more so than a poet, more so than a novelist, creative nonfiction, first-person narrative. That's my wheelhouse. That's where I first began writing, was essay. And so Texas Tech University Press is my nonfiction publisher. And I feel like they took a really big chance on me this third time around. Drinking wild water, if you want to know what it's like growing food on public land, if you want to know about that intimacy with the natural world, that's the book. The two creative nonfiction books that came before kind of set the stage. But Drinking Wild Water really addresses that intimacy. And last night, believe it or not, Harrison Ford gave the commencement address at ASU. Mm-hmm. And one of the quotes that came out of that speech is, "Humanity is a part of nature, not above it." Mm-hmm. And I think that Drinking Wild Water addresses that. I wish I had come up with that quote myself. That's in the canon of things I wish I wrote now. But it sums Drinking Wild Water up beautifully. One of the themes, well, there's several themes, but one of the themes is the idea of being holistic and looking at things all the way around and from all its facets, because agriculture is an extremely holistic endeavor. We have to look at the land and the people and the animals and the weather and the markets and the owner of the ranch and all of these things we can't control. Mm-hmm. And so we are constantly looking at things with a holistic view. This book really addresses that, but it also addresses speciesism, glorifying one species over another. And I really feel like speciesism is akin to racism. And I think that if we get out there in the natural world and we realize we are not the top of the pyramid, that the horse, as glorious as a horse is not more important than the earthworm or the dung beetle or the bee. Mm. And definitely that cow is not more important than that little plant on the creek bank holding the soil. Mm-hmm. So when we get out there and you strip away all the noise, strip away all of this entertainment bombardment that is taking up our attention, we get out there in the luxury of being unconnected, disconnected from the feed, and you begin to see yourself as not that important in the big scheme of things. That I spent the night back in April. I spent the night on a creek bank, one of my favorite places in the world, and I realized whether I'm there or not, that all goes on without me. Mm-hmm. I am an intruder for one night only, and it goes on without me. And I think it very, very much puts our human lives right now in perspective.
And then there's kind of I won't say it's a different side of you, but it's, I think it's interesting. You had the honor, shall I say, of traveling to Europe to a creative residency this year.
Yes.
To France and England.
I was awarded a 2-week residency in the Champagne-Ardenne region of France. And when I found out that I had been awarded the residency, I was very excited. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make this happen, but I was very excited. 2 weeks of nobody needing me, just writing. There's no dogs, there's no horses, there's no cows, there's no men, there's no chickens. There's nothing needing me. It was a luxury. But when I found out about it, I called my daughter, and I was so excited. I said, "Oh, Lily, I've been awarded this residency." And she said, "You know, Mom, it's really irresponsible to fly all the way across the ocean." And I thought she was going to say without me. I really did. And she didn't. She said, and not pad your residency on either end with some other places that you've been wanting to see. And I thought, I raised such smart kids. I like having grown children. So I did. I went to Paris for 5 days and then to the 2-week residency. You have to take a train to get there to the French countryside. And then I spent 2 weeks at the residency and then the train back into Paris. And I went to London for 4 days.
Nice.
It was very, very nice. And it, though, country people are country people everywhere. And I was in the French countryside, and I got out of my studio to go walk and kind of breathe some fresh air. And I made my way down to where the sheep and the goats and the geese and the chickens were. And I ended up having a very strange conversation with the man who takes care of all the animals there. And we were talking about foxes trying to get our chickens. And we did it all in this little pidgin French and pidgin English. We were in gestures and somewhere in there, he asked me if the animal that smells bad ever got my chickens. And I was like, yes, we have a skunk problem in my house too. And it was just this moment where I realized that animals and the land and where our food comes from, these are things that connect us, not separate us, not take us apart from each other. And that's the language that I want to speak. In fact, the introduction to Drinking Wild Water is an invitation. Just like that all cowboy poetry is an invitation into the life that we live, into this work of growing food. That's all cowboy poetry is. That's all poetry is, period, is an invitation. And so that is the way that I introduce this book, is an invitation into that world.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Tell us about some of your other books.
Oh, I have to tell you, thank you for asking me that, because when people find out that I cowboy for a living, first of all, they want to change that to cowgirl. And I have this, the perception of cowgirl is to be in an arena with the flags flying and the music playing and there's glitter and there's crowds cheering. And where I ride, there are very few crowds cheering and there's no glitter and my horses are scared of flags. And there's very few atta-girls. And so with this book release, I am giving myself permission to tell myself atta-girl and way to go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
you mentioned that, cowboy and cowgirl.
Yeah.
And I have the distinct memory years ago when Georgie Sicking came to our gathering. Wonderful lady.
Yes, she was.
And I used the word cowgirl. And she said, "Jim, I am not."
She felt very, very strongly about it. And there are several of us who've kind of taken a little bit of a page out of Georgie's book. Boy, she did. She cowboyed. Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm going to separate these into category. This is Rightful Place, my very, very first book, published by Texas Tech University Press. But I wrote it while I was still in Texas.
Okay.
And then when I got to Arizona, when I got to Spider Ranch, I ended up writing the follow-up to that, which is Ordinary Skin, Essays from Willow Springs. And this very much addresses a woman walking into a traditionally male-dominated profession.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which was kind of fun to write because tradition is a really tricky word. Tradition can be guidelines, but it can also be chains. And if we were to strictly go by tradition, I would be in the kitchen, not spending, if you'll remember, trying to schedule this interview, all of April.
I can't be there, Kim. I've got to help Gail. We're moving cattle.
I'm horseback every day. I can't be there. I can't get there by 2:30. Yeah. So that is a little bit of, that was also Texas Tech University Press. And then, of course, I got to work with an editor, the editor-in-chief of the press now. He's, I think he's 35.
Young man.
He's young. He's vibrant. He's eager. He's got all these ideas. And I really, really had a great time working with him. But creative nonfiction is all about me and what I think. So my break from that is always to write a novel. And our good friend Steve Atkinson did the cover for The Story is the Thing. And not only did Steve do the cover, but he did all of the interior design.
Oh, wow.
Right, because he is also a graphic designer. So that was an honor. And then another novel, Winter of Beauty, the story of all of those people on cow camps, on the big ranches, and what their lives might be like. So it's fiction, but fiction is a little relief for me. And then I also put out a book of poetry, which I will never do again. Just because formatting poetry is so difficult. And my good friend Jessica Liflin.
You're breaking my heart.
I'll continue to perform. But Jessica Liflin, my good friend Jessica Liflin, who is one of the official photographers for the National Cowboy Poetry Gathering in Elko, she came to the ranch and she took this photograph. I have to tell people that I did not put my husband on the cover of my book. That's me. I'm not putting my husband on the cover of my book. He gets enough airtime. So yes, thank you for asking. I am very, very proud of my body of work.
Super. Very nice. Tell us a little bit about the Spider Ranch where you I'm not sure that saying you live there or you work there is right. You kind of, in my view, you coexist there.
Absolutely.
You're part of it.
Well, just like the Harrison Ford quote, we're not above it. We're a part of it. And I think when we see ourselves as even caretakers, even managers, I think that's misspeaking a little bit, because we do a lot better with the land if we learn to live and work in tandem with it. I get to go backpacking with Arizona Game and Fish all the time. I really enjoy working with them. A lot of times people will say, oh, on the Spider, you have to deal with the government. Yeah, we do. There's oversight. I think oversight is a beautiful, beautiful thing. That doesn't mean we don't fight a little bit. We don't have some friction, but Arizona Game and Fish has been an amazing organization to work with.
Super.
I love to be feet on the ground with them. And they email me or text me and ask me about different species, and I'm able to say, yeah, I happen to know that there's a whole flock of those birds over here, or because I'm there. Our intimacy with the land we cannot come at it from a place of dominance. We have to come at it from a place of cooperation. And horses and cows will teach you that way before the bears and the Gila monsters and the other creatures will, mainly because we're stewards of the horses and cows. We're actively interacting with them daily. And So if we will pay attention at that level, then it's so much easier to pay attention at another level. I believe in silence, solitude, and stillness as the very best tools that an artist can have in their bag. If you will be quiet and sit still and get used to being alone, then you get to hear what bubbles up internally. That's one element of it. Then you get to hear your own special magic gets to bubble up, right? But if you're constantly being bombarded with feed, constantly being entertained, constantly reaching out to find your solace in another human being because you're scared of who you are or what might bubble up, as an artist, I will write you off pretty quickly. I want to hear what your magic is. But the flip side to that is that I spend a lot of time on a horse following mama cows, single file. Wildlife and livestock go single file. Naturally, don't fight that. Let them. So I've spent a lot of time in the back with all the this spring, all the babies. All the tinies. They looked like little jackrabbits, and I made them have to walk a long, long way with the grandmas and the baby calves. You are silent. There's not a stillness, but there's a stillness relative to a freeway. And I'm the only one back there.
If you can hear it.
That's right. So It's a very noisy world out there, actually. And it's never still. And it's... I'm in community. But if I will learn to listen, I recognize those things. Otherwise, it can be really scary. And this spider does go from about 6,700 feet, so pine trees and bears, down to 3,000 feet at our lowest water gap. So Gila monsters, prickly pear, little mesquite trees, some saguaro. So there's no way to get bored out there. The species variation.
Lots of diversity.
Lots of diversity. Yes.
Yeah.
And that feeds the writing so much. So much. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I've seen some things you wrote that I just kind of marvel at because, I've lived here in Prescott all my life and basically spent a lot of time in the rural parts of Prescott, not in the city, and I still, kind of feel like I have very little understanding of what it is that I'm part of.
Right. Right. And most people feel that way.
I think so. Yeah.
Even when you address the idea of food and food production. It never ceases to startle me when people don't understand that there are still people out there growing food, that there are still people out there who are managing livestock in as humane and non-invasive as possible to produce a good, healthy source of protein for a very hungry world. Even right here in town, I think you know the story. I had a bartender ask me, I said, I was in the summertime and it was hot and I was so happy to go in and sit down where it was cool. And somebody's going to pour me a drink, what's not to like? And he was like, well, where do you live that you don't have air conditioning? And so by the time I got to the fact that I cowboy, he was so confused, and people still do that. And I think I want to ask, well, where do you think your food comes from? And I want to ask this of everybody, not just one bartender in Prescott, Arizona, but I think the reason I write is to ask that question, to ask, where do you think your food comes from? Have you taken your shoes off and dug your feet into the sand in a place that is safe? One of the big themes in this book, and I think it's really kind of interesting, a local artist, she's my tattoo artist, did the graphic for the title page. One of the big themes in this book is bears, not bears in particular, but bears as wild things and our fear of the natural world.
Yeah.
And the predators, the apex predators.
And we tend to be very fearful of bears.
Very fearful, right. And the spider's got lots of bears on it. And in fact, there's a woman here in town who has honeybees and hives. And I said, oh, I've got a sub-irrigated bottom and it's got clover and it's got fruit trees. And will you locate a hive? And she said, no, Amy, I'm on your social media. I know how many bears are out there. And we would have to build Sing Sing around a hive to keep the bears from getting in there. And I thought, oh, well, I never even think about it in those terms. I have been very fortunate that in the 18 years that I've been on the Spider Ranch, which is Prescott National Forest, I have seen species rebound.
Good.
Beaver have returned to our watershed. Arizona Game and Fish reestablished wild turkeys. And my goodness, wild turkeys, first of all, they're prolific. Second, if the tom turkey's awake, everybody's awake. Trust me on this. They move. The young turkeys scatter and go and repopulate other areas. Here's the other thing people don't know about our desert is that it is watered by veins. There are these deep on the Spider, there's 3 big, deep canyons full of riparian area with active live water. And unless you're willing to get off of your motorized vehicle, off your horse and walk, you're never going to see them. So I know where there's some magical places that nobody else knows. And we've seen the elk rebound. We've seen the bear rebound. So we've seen some plants. In particular, I spoke with a plant biologist out of Flagstaff the other day. A plant that I'm so excited has rebounded, and that is the antelope horn milkweed. So those, it's easy to see the bears, the eagles, the apex predators. It's easy to be scared of the rattlesnakes and the bears, the mountain lions. I saw a bobcat the other day. My dog treed the bobcat. We had to explain to the dog that you don't want that kitty. That kitty's not going to be nice. He was mad. And I was actually right at headquarters, right on the county road. But it's so easy to see those things. So much harder to see something like an antelope horn milkweed or the fact that the baby ash trees are growing in the creek, or it's so much less exciting to look at that little plant I mentioned before holding the creek bank together. And I think that's where in the West we trip and we glorify something like the wild Mustang, when in actuality, that's one of the most damaging animals in the West is a feral horse. So I think, and I'm not taking sides on the debate, but I'm saying speciesism is akin to racism. So look at your speciesism pretty close. And what are you glorifying over another? Because
and see what the consequence of that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
The consequence of glorifying one creature over another is that we're going to lose our bees. And so the earthworm is devalued, the dung beetle devalued, and so I don't know. I as much as I like to see the beautiful creatures that are apex predators, I have to bring myself home and back to center and say yes, but we value that little plant and that dung beetle just as much. So that goes all into my writing.
And my feeling is we need to learn from people like yourself that have that. It's not a perspective, but interest and knowledge. That so many of us gloss over.
Absolutely.
Including myself.
Yesterday morning, I made a little video for a friend of mine And I went out to go let the chickens out. We now are letting our chickens free range, but we're really hesitant. There's owls, foxes, coyotes, skunks,
bobcats.
Yeah, bobcats, you name it. So we're letting them free range, and they're doing okay so far. But I had one with an abscess on its foot, so I caught her and I took her in the house, and I was soaking her foot in Epsom salts, and I was making iodine compress for her, and I had promised a friend I would answer a question for her. So I set my camera up and I'm holding this chicken with her foot in a bath and it's soaking in Epsom salts. And I said, sorry. I said, I'm starting every morning out like this. The chickens take their dirt baths in the horse lot. So every morning I start out smelling like horse manure, cow manure, and chicken and barn lot dirt. But anyway, that's what I'm doing right now. And I made a joke out of it. And the response that I got was so sweet. She said, that just means you're grounded. And I thought, yeah. I sit here every morning and hold this little hen in my lap. And there are worse lives to live than spending your days with other species other than our own, So, yeah, there's a lot worse ways to live.
And so many of us, spend our mornings putting on aftershave and perfume.
Yeah. No, my perfume's a little earthier than that. Yeah. Very grounded.
Your comment earlier about food and where it comes from reminds me of a story of a good friend of ours and her grandboys. And the grandboys were from Phoenix at the time. Grandma lived up here in Prescott. And they were in the house. And Grandma said to the kids, when we get done with breakfast, we're going to go out and pick some apples off the apple tree. And one of the grandboys said, oh, no, Grandma, apples come from Safeway.
Right.
Grandma was dismayed.
Dismayed, yes.
She has a pretty good understanding of where our food comes from. Not to the depth that you do, but kind of a typical perspective of it.
Well, the Polk family owns Spider Ranch. Gail and I, we just work for wages. But the Polk family's all got a lot of little grandkids right now. So they're coming out on I'm not sure, some weekend very soon. And that's one of the things that they want to do is gather eggs, to get the eggs out of the chicken tractor. Yeah. Yep. So that's a good thing. And hopefully we'll have some cows in at headquarters and they can see all the baby calves. So that's a good thing.
That'll be very educational.
Yeah, don't get between the mama and the baby. They get a little grouchy. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I was raised on a very different kind of a chicken ranch. We had usually about 3,000 chickens.
Oh, that's a little much for me. Much as I enjoy them.
But they were all contained, and all the laying hens were in cages, and so my job as a child was to shovel chicken manure.
Yeah.
So I still remember the smell.
Yeah, I'm sure. Absolutely. It stays with you.
But it was a wonderful life when I grew up, and I'm thankful for that. I was visiting with Stuart Rosebrook yesterday, actually, and talking about some things, and we were talking about music actually at the time, and I said, my early years and my experience with music was my dad going out and starting the generator so that he could turn on the radio so he could listen to KSL in Salt Lake City and the Mormon Tabernacle Choir.
Oh, wow.
and we were not Mormons, but he loved the music.
He loved the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's talk about marvelous places. The Tabernacle in Salt Lake is. We got to visit there one time, and they did their demonstration, they call it, and it's a big place like Yavapai College Performing Arts Center, and the lady doing the demonstration dropped a straight pin, on a table at the front. We were at the back of the hall, and we could hear it like it was right in front of us.
Oh, wow. What amazing acoustics.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh,
but,
wow.
A credit to humanity that they were able to
right.
design and build such a thing. Interesting. We haven't really talked much about your cowboying.
Well,
tell us a little bit about that.
I grew up in a livestock family, and then I married a working ranch cowboy when I was 19. And we moved on to camps on big outfits in Texas, a little bit in New Mexico. But my role was very much confined to the kitchen. It was very much confined to buying, running to town for parts or feeding big crews of cowboys. I started feeding large crews of cowboys when I was 19. And in fact, a lot of Rightful Place really comes and speaks to that life, homeschooling my children. I didn't have a lot of choice. Homeschooled because we lived so far out. We couldn't imagine them spending most of their day on a bus or in a classroom. And then why live on a ranch if they're never on the ranch? And so that was an easy choice for me. I come from a family of educators, and I said, well, surely I can do this with my own. So it was a very isolated life. I was horseback some, but my father and my ex-husband never let me carry a rope on my saddle. And so when the earthquake came in my life and I began to talk with Gale Steiger, we began to correspond. He had read an early draft of Rightful Place. Oh. Andy Wilkinson had sent it, my editor had sent it to him. And so he had read it, and then he wrote this really great blurb for it. Oh. And then I started dating him, and I had to tell Andy, I'm sorry, we can't use the blurb because I'm dating him. But one of the things that Gale said is, if we can work cows together, we can do anything together. So come out to the Spider and let's go pick up remnant. We went way off down in Scotts Basin and picked up remnant for 10 days. No showers, staying in a cabin with no running water, no electricity. It was a crash course. And I had mentioned to Gale that I had never carried a rope on my saddle. And he said, you are not welcome to ride with me without a rope on your saddle. Now, I don't live in a land of regret, but if I had it to do over again, I would start learning how to rope when I was 8 or 18, not 38. So, that's been the biggest challenge for me because I didn't start with a child's mind. I started with a 38-year-old woman's mind, knowing everything that could go wrong. When you're throwing a loop made of nylon in a pen that's small with other people and animals.
Yeah. Yep.
I knew everything that could go wrong and how I didn't want to be the one to cause something to go wrong. Then locate all that way away from any hospital or emergency services.
Yeah.
Now, with my phone, I could land a helicopter where we are. But when 18 years ago, no, I couldn't. Right. And so everything that could go wrong, I thought of. Trial by fire, I'm doing much better now. I'm a much better hand in the Brandon pen. And I used to dread sorting. I dreaded sorting cattle so much because I wanted to do it. Nobody wants to do it right more than I do. Then I realized over a course of years, I ride really good horses. That's one thing Gale Steiger is going to make sure is that I ride really good horses. And so I have come to where one of my favorite things in the world is to sort a pen of cattle with this guy who is my person. And we just work really well together now. Again, cowboying we can't put the word tradition in the blanket tradition. And I get really irritated sometimes in a cowboy poetry gathering when tradition is held up above ability or skill or change even, evolution of who we are as a society. If we were to put tradition at the top, you would not be wearing a hat in the house, in the building.
Yep.
My grandmother would have been horrified. That was tradition. Nobody would wear their hats on stage at a cowboy poetry gathering. Nobody would wear their spurs in the house. These things of tradition, my grandmother held very dearly. But if we stick with and we let tradition be chains, then I wouldn't be cowboying on the Spider. I would be cooking for crew.
Yeah.
Which I still end up cooking for crew. But on the Spider, we sleep out on the ground.
You do both.
60 to 80 nights out of the year. Because the last time that the Forest Service graded the roads on the allotment that we're on was 1987. So they're not really roads anymore. And the horses and cows have to walk everywhere they go. They prefer that to being in a trailer.
Sure.
So we have a German military vehicle that we can haul gear and hay into camp. And we sleep out on the ground. And I think it has changed who I am to do that. Because I can't live in a world of discomfort or fear or pain or not liking to get dirty, or, you start to get comfortable with how your body smells, and the fact that I smell like horse sweat and my horse likes how I smell when I'm that way than when I put perfume on. I get very comfortable with the fact that, there's going to be a shower 3 days from now. Let it go. Let go of all of the chains of society and go be and do the job and let that be your focus.
Let go of all the rules.
All the rules, which again, tradition can be a set of rules or it can be guidelines. Yeah. And it depends on our attitude, how we look at it. I actually had someone interview me a few years ago for a newsletter, and she said, well, I didn't actually realize it. We had just come to a gathering and there were lots of cowboys around it. I didn't realize you were one of the cowboys because you just didn't wear enough turquoise. And I finally had to stop the interview. And I said, what is it that you think I do? And she said, well, I don't really know. I mean, I think you're great on stage. And I said, yeah, thank you. That's a teeny little piece of who I am. What is it that you think I do? And we got down to the fact that actually she had no idea what cowboys do. And so it was really interesting for me to be able to say, I help manage a herd of ungulates, in this case, cows, on your public land in order to produce a healthy source of protein. Well, when you take the word and you break it down into this is a skill set, this is a task, this is a job, it totally changed the interview. It totally changed. So social media is a good way. Some of my favorite accounts are ranchers who are talking about letting go of tradition, letting go of industry, and working within culture. This culture of growing food, we don't wean. We don't wean calves off these mama cows. Gail feels like that's the most stressful thing that we do to a mama cow is to wean something before it's ready. We let these cows kick their calves off. And if she doesn't, then we ship them both. Okay. So we're basically selecting genetically, right? Yeah. Selecting for that trait. But because of Instagram, because of social media, we now follow several ranchers who say the elk, nobody weans the elk, nobody weans the deer, nobody weans these other mammals.
Yep. So
what happens if we don't focus for shipping in the fall? What if we focus for what we just did, which is all these yearlings that these cows kicked off over the winter so they could have a new baby? That's what we just shipped. And we did just fine.
Super.
Yeah. Super. So that's been a great learning experience. So that's what I'm doing out there. Just helping.
And, Amy, we're running out of time, and I very much appreciate your being here and sharing with us today and helping us to learn more about the world we live in.
I have enjoyed it. Thank you.
Because it's more important than we think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And that's one reason I appreciate the Arizona Cowboy Poets, because I don't know why you keep doing it, but you keep inviting me to stand on stage and to talk about these things with audiences.
Yeah.
And it's definitely changed my life. So going to Elko, Nevada, coming to Prescott, going to Texas, getting to hold the stage in front of people who maybe they're there out of curiosity and nostalgia. Mm-hmm. But that's fine, because they gave me the microphone, so I get to talk about growing food and the natural world.
Good. Well, we look forward to having you at the gathering.
I look forward to being there.
6th, 7th, and 8th, as I mentioned earlier.
Let's have it be raining.
Thank you for joining us and watching and listening to our podcast. And we try to do these about once a month. We hope you'll continue viewing them and listening to them and doing all those things. We have a newsletter we send out monthly. You can sign up for it at our website, so please consider that. And we look forward to seeing you all at the gathering in August. And until we meet again, adios, and thank you very much, Amy.
Thank you, Jim.